Yo, 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 what is going on, my beautiful brothers and sisters? Jay Phoenix here, and I wanted to just share a thought with you all. This is actually a thought that I had some weeks back, but I've allowed it to kind of sit, marinate, ruminate in my consciousness, mature, if you will. I don't even know if necessarily the thought has fully matured, but I feel like now is the time to share with you all. I was speaking to my dad the other day, and we have these conversations where we kind of go back and forth. We'll think of something. We think of the world in metaphors. We're, philosophical poets, if you will. We think about the world and the different trials and tribulations and lessons, and then we have a way of looking at it, and then we'll bring it to each other to kind of run it by the other person to see if it holds any validity, if it can stand up to the light, if it makes sense, or if we're just being crazy delulu, right? So I brought this thought to my father the other day, and I was like, Dad, I was thinking that we're a lot like toys, and God is playing with us, right? And if you think back to your childhood, think back to like your favorite toy or your favorite toys. Maybe it shifted over the years, but think back to your childhood and when you was playing with like your favorite toy, right? More than likely that toy was, bruised, a little bit battered, frayed. Maybe the stuffing came out in some area, or if it was like an action figure, maybe it was like the paint was starting to peel in some areas. It was well played with. It was worn. It was torn. It was bruised, if you will. It took a lot of damage because you played with it all the time. It was your favorite toy. And just think back to that feeling of always grabbing your favorite toy and just being exhilarated to play with it. No matter how many times you played with that toy, and it would just seemingly be so mundane, and you would think that you would have gotten used to it and you would have gotten bored with it, but you would always go back to that toy because there was something about it that just really lit your soul and your heart up. It was something that really just spoke to you. And you would always go back to it. You always go back to it. And then imagine the feeling of temporarily losing that favorite toy. The pain, the anguish, the sadness that would overcome you from losing that favorite toy. And then the resulting exhilaration of finding that toy. Or even the despair of never finding it again. I think a lot of times when we're going through life, obviously, there are the trials and tribulations. We get hurt, we get bruised, we get lied to, we lie, we get hurt, we hurt others. All of these things happen, The good followed by the bad followed by the good, the ugly, the beautiful. Life is full of a myriad of experiences that crosses the wide range of emotions, thoughts, feelings. There's so much to take in here and to explore. And then I had this thought that what if God's chosen ones are the ones that He plays with the most? They're not the ones that are neat and put into a cabinet and they just sit there in the cabinet beyond the glass and they start to collect dust. Almost like a collector's item, but not really played with, he doesn't put his hands on that toy too much. And I was wondering, what if, potentially, and this is just a metaphor looking at the world, right? But what if God's chosen ones, the ones that seemingly achieve the greatest things, whether they're athletes or singers or even politicians or inventors or builders or doctors or teachers or whatever, the greatest ones, the people that are, burned into human history, the ones that stand out. What if those are the people that God plays with the most? Then you have to wonder, how bruised are they? Is the stuffing coming out of their arm? Is the paint peeling somewhere? Oftentimes we kind of look at these individuals and we see the great accomplishments, the great feats. We see the story reel. We see the Instagram reel. We see the beauty reel. We see the polished. Usually behind closed doors, almost always behind closed doors. The people that humans remember the most have been the most hurt, have had the most shit happen to them. right? So think about your life too. Have you been hurt? Have you been bruised? Have you been going through the trials and tribulations? I think it's just an interesting thought to think of ourselves as toys. And God's chosen ones are not the ones that he puts in plastic, puts behind glass, on a cabinet to just collect dust and just sit there. It's the ones that he plays with the most. He, she, whatever. I say he because, I'm not Christian, but, I have, like most people in America, a Christian background, right? But the people that God plays with the most, they're not on the sidelines. They're not collecting dust. They are actually out there doing the thing. They're playing the game, right? And what if that's how life is in many ways? And yes, of course, you can have a favorite toy and then maybe you have it for a while and then you leave it alone. And I think that's the other part of this metaphor, is that sometimes I think we feel abandoned by God. Sometimes we feel like God doesn't want to play with us anymore, And maybe you guys in the comment section can kind of expand upon that part as I continue to ruminate and allow this thought to mature within my consciousness. Maybe there'll be a part 2. Because I know that we all from time to time feel abandoned. I know that we all from time to time feel like God is not with us or God's not playing with us anymore. And I don't really think that's the case. I don't think that's the case. I think it's just one of those things where we have to, there's a maturation that comes there. There's a maturation that comes from when things seem a little bit more quiet or a little bit more silent, when things aren't really in so much flux. I think God's just giving us a time to rest and recuperate. It doesn't have to be a bad thing. I think, especially right now, the world is in so much flux. All of our lives, there's so much energy and stuff like that, that when things are quiet and boring or mundane, we freak out because we're wondering what's gonna happen. Why is it so quiet? Maybe God's just giving us time to rest. Maybe God not playing with his toys anymore. Maybe he's just gone to sleep for the night, So I don't think it has to be a bad thing. But the whole metaphor, the whole thing I'm trying to say here is that if you envision yourself as a toy and you want to be God's favorite, if you will, not that God plays favorites, but if you want to be one of those people that humans we do put people on pinnacles. We shouldn't, but we do put people on pinnacles because they seemingly accomplish amazing things. Why is that? I think it's because they accepted the invitation from God to live life to the fullest and to play the game of life all the way. Not just some of the way, not just a little bit here and there, but they play the game of life all the way. And thus, God plays with them the most. And they may be hurt, bruised, battered, and probably have failed more times than you have even attempted. But there's something that they capture, a quintessential aspect, a quintessential just peek into the creative divine potential that we all have. They get a taste of that and experience it. Now imagine if more of us can do this. And now imagine if more of us can do this in our own true, authentic way. What would the world look like then? Who knows? Anyways, just wanted to share this thought with you guys. But y'all take care, stay blessed. And I'll see you on the next one. Peace.